there, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about two films by the same director, which are Kamikaze Girls and The World of Kanako. Now, the director is Tetsuya Nakashima, and basically he's a director who has not made a ton of films, but he's made enough. He made Confessions, which is still my favourite of his, which I think is a wonderful film. But these two are also excellent. These are really strong films that are very much worth your time. And they're very different films. One of them is extremely dark, and the other one is extremely charming. And both of them are around the same subject, this idea of what is going on with teenage girls in Japanese society. But one of them is charming. Well, admitting there's some darkness there, and the other one is extremely dark. But the one thing they both share is the idea that the protagonist's fathers, or the fathers of the characters who the story revolves around, are useless, are completely useless. But in Kamikaze Girls, the father is enjoyably useless because he's a comic figure. In World of Kanako, it's a much darker type of useless father. Right, so I'll start with Kamikaze Girls. And Kamikaze Girls is basically a story of friendship, and it relies a lot on charm of the two lead characters, who are both outcasts in the world. One of them is essentially a throwback to an older style of being. She loves the kind of old-fashioned. There's this weird cult of old fashioned style that's based on Renaissance kind of style of clothing, but it's done in the Japanese way. Japan's sort of taken what they love about the past and brought it back to their culture and been influenced by it, but have created a whole new subculture around it, which Japan sometimes does. And this girl loves these kind of old-fashioned based clothing, which are all dresses, are all based on the idea of romance and, a romantic view of the world there. There's manners, there's, feelings, there's a sense of the world being exciting. It's an optimistic, but maybe overly optimistic, and she's really into the idea of designing things, but also enjoying it. So when she goes into the idea of designing it, she's very good, but she finds that even though there's a demand for her designs, it takes away from her enjoyment of it. And she's, despite the fact she looks very kind of weird and silly, she does have a very clued in sense of what she wants in the world, even though it's a view of the world that's completely different from what everyone else wants in the world, or everyone else thinks is a useful set of ambitions for the world. And she develops a friendship with this biker girl who's very snarky and grumpy and, someone who has her own past. She's into the biker gangs, and she's also into this retro clothing style that our romantic girl's father had bought all these rip-offs and of designer clothes and sold them black market, and then he get chucked out the area he was in. So now the girl has taken all the stock and selling it online, and quietly selling it online and making a profit off it, even though her dad doesn't really know. And the biker girl loves this stuff and is buying it from her, and they develop a friendship. Now, the biker girl is much more difficult to get on with. She's grumpy, but she starts to appreciate this crazy girl who's into these old-fashioned styles. And who, as the story goes on, she starts to realise is much tougher than she lets on. And you realise that the biker girl is actually much more fragile than she lets on, while still having a kind of tough, she'll fight anybody attitude. And it's about these two girls who are very opposite finding a kind of mutual appreciation for each other. And there are all these other stories about this biker legend that like subtly moves into the story, and things happen. But it's not a narrative-based film. It's an atmosphere-based film in the sense of you're getting the viewpoint of these two characters. You're getting their ups and downs through this one period of their lives, and you're with them as you see them struggle, as you see them learn. And so the story itself is slighter than you'd expect, but it doesn't matter because it's just the charm of the world, the way it's presented, and the way you're in the head spaces of both these girls, and seeing why they think the way they think. And that's what it's about. It's basically about friendship developing as both these girls actually see how the other one thinks and starts to appreciate it. And that's the movie, basically. It's a charming film. It's a film that's actually easier to watch than it is to talk about, because it's like everything that's really important is in the way it's presented. It's the way and it's one of those films where the style, when it goes over the top, is actually perfect, because it's like it's explaining the headspace of somebody. It's not explaining the reality. It's explaining how they see the world and why they see the world that this way. And it's not saying that they're crazy. It's just saying like this is their romanticized ideal of the world. And we also see what the world actually is, but then you see how they rebel against it to have something of their own within this world, so that they're not just being depressed and worn down by the reality of the world. It's actually much more being, oh, this world is actually difficult but beautiful if you actually figure your place in it and actually stick to that. You can survive. You just have to find your place and just hold on to that. And basically, if someone is, causing you trouble, it's like, how do you define yourself in that world? And actually, it's kind of taking on people and stand up for yourself, no matter how absurd it looks to the outside. So that's what the charm of the film actually is. And that's all I can really say about it. It's one of those things that films, when I'm talking about, saying, go watch this film. It is wonderful. But there's the narrative hook that you would normally say, go for this reason, is not really there. It's much more, go for the atmosphere of this world. You'll know within 10 minutes whether you like it or you don't like it. You'll just know instantly. But yes, Kamikaze Girls is wonderful. Now, the world of Kamiko, I've just... There's so many Japanese. World of Kanako, yes. I got all the names mixed up in my head. World of Kanako is a much darker world. It's so much darker. It's amazing it's from the same director. But in between Kamikaze Girls and this, he had made Confessions, is a very dark film. And I think it's a director who goes between darker and lighter films. He's got a lot of... I think he's interested in people's mindsets and the areas of romanticism and the areas of delusion to themselves. Because this one has a person who thinks he sees the world in a certain way, but it turns out he's completely wrong in almost every possible way about how the world works. And it is a look at the way parents see their children, and how a lot of the time it's absolutely wrong. And it also is tied to how they look at themselves and how they look at their own actions. And this is a story where a man who's blind to his own nature can't see the mystery he's trying to solve, because it involves looking for his daughter, who has taken a lot of his attributes, who is very much her father's daughter. And he doesn't realise that, and the biggest clues are always, what is my nature? And he cannot look at that. And that's the kind of tragedy and the kind of dark humour of the film, because everyone else can see it. Everyone sees what he's not seeing. And he's been through all these stories and all these fantasy worlds of these different teenage people who are talking about his daughter from different points of view, but he's not seeing how it ties to him, which is his big problem. So you can see where there's a line to him, but he can't work out how the line of why the line of how it affects the information he's genuinely trying to get at. And he's going to try. Basically, the plot is his daughter has disappeared. Him and his wife are very estranged. She hates him. She's now his ex-wife. She had an affair. He found out. He overreacted. He was a cop. He lost his job. Now he works in security. And he's just a lunatic. He's someone who no one really wants anything to do with because he's a lunatic. And even he knows he's a bit of a lunatic. But he doesn't realise how much of a lunatic he actually is until he starts chasing up and clues to try and find his daughter, who he's not really seen for a while, and he's got a romantic view of because it's his daughter, and he has to find his daughter. And as the story gets darker, he wants to find his daughter so he can kill her because he can't believe how horrible she is. But the reality is, he's even worse, but he just can't see it. Some of the things this guy does in this film is truly awful. And the funny thing is, the actor who played him is a terrific actor, who is also recently in Perfect Days, where he played one of the nicest possible people. In this film, he is just one of the worst possible people. He's just appalling. I mean, it's one of those films where you cannot. It's the charm of an actor can actually make you forget how horrible his character is. But it's Koji Yakusho, and he's been in tons of stuff for Kurosawa, for the later Kurosawa. He's been in lots of stuff like Charisma and things like that, and Cure. So he's been in so many good films. He's such a good actor. But in this one he's a total scumbag. And only his charm actually makes you realise, makes you forget how horrible this person actually is. And it's about him slowly realising how horrible he is, how despicable he is, how wasteful he is of other people. And it's just, it's just a horror show of a person. And it's and it's like how this infection has spread, and how his daughter's is also a horror show of a person, and how her touch to other people has created all these traumas that are just difficult to deal with for other people, and it creates all these other like traumatized lives, all because there's one horrible family. But it takes the idea of, normally in a film noir, it's about an investigation, detective stories, investigation into why someone disappeared. And this one, it's like, yeah, it's quite good they disappeared because they're horrible. And it is a film noir because everything's tragic and everything's doomed, and no one's getting out here alive, especially people who are getting into contact with Kanako or her father. It's like both of them are just these total cesspools of people who just cause so much misery to everyone else. And that makes it sound like it's the most horrible film ever, and it's not. It's wonderful. Because the characters are really interesting, if very unsympathetic. The situations are always intriguing. The stylization is always wonderful. The way the film's told, the way it breaks it up, and the storytelling is like you're watching a guy try to fool himself. An investigation is someone's trying desperately to fool themselves to find a reason why someone would kill his poor daughter, and all the facts are all there the whole time, and he just can't face them. And also suggesting the wife brought him to find a daughter, but somewhere in her mind she kind of probably knows as well the daughter was horrible. And it just becomes this sort of waking nightmare to realise your family, that everyone always is idealising the idea of a family, is this like infection on everyone else. It's just this thing, this pus has to be, so other people have a chance of escaping the hellhole of your choice and your family's choices. It's wonderful because it takes something so dark and actually adds humour and fantastical elements and shows some tenderness of people who end up being victimised by this horrible group of people, and showing how their lives are ruined. So there's so much more tenderness to it than most directors would manage, but also it makes the kind of the kind of thing that's always there in the front of you more horrific, because you know the people you're trying to find are not worth it. And the film's pretty early on. It's pretty much it's hitting pretty heavily that Kanako's horrible. It's not like trying to say, oh, we misunderstood her or anything. It's like, no, it's hitting pretty quickly that this is a fool's errand. If you're paying attention. So, I mean, even though I really loved Kamikaze Girls, I really adored Kanako because it was such a dark film. But I still like Confessions more because Confessions is just truly disturbing. Kanako is like almost that level, but the fact is, you can know people are deluding themselves makes it a bit more predictable slightly. But the invention of the film just keeps it interesting the whole way through. But these are just wonderful films. These are highly recommended. Just go see them. They are great. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you go see these films because they are well worth your time. Right, bye for now.